Hello, it's Cave Cat again with another great episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. For today's episode, we are going to be going back to 1994, back when the Disney Renaissance was still going strong. You see, after The Little Mermaid, The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, Disney had gotten to work on their 30-second feature film in the Disney animated canon, focusing on African animals in the savannah, most notably lions. So what's the film? The Lion King. Released June 15, 1994, it was the highest-grossing animated film for a long time, up until it ended up getting surpassed in that honor by Finding Nemo almost a decade later. But anyway, from what I remember, the film is supposed to be based off of that of William Shakespeare's Hamlet, even though I also remember hearing people claim that this movie is ripping off Osamu Tezuka's manga and anime Kimba the White Lion, but I respectfully disagree with those people in that regard. I, among other people, feel that the film is telling its own story inspired by Shakespeare's Hamlet, and it really feels that way. Also, speaking of story, the film focuses on the main character, Simba, a young lion cub who is slated to take over the throne from his father Mufasa, much to the disgust and ire of Mufasa's brother, Scar, who feels that he should be king instead of Simba. So because of that, Scar comes up with a scheme to get rid of both Mufasa and Simba so that he can be free to rule over the Pride Lands. Mufasa is killed as a result, while Simba is forced into exile and ends up meeting the meerkat and warthog duo Timon and Pumbaa, who raise him under a carefree life. In my humble opinion, this is a fun movie for a good number of reasons. First, it's one of the very first Disney animated films to have an original story instead of being based on a fairy tale or other source material, even if it does take some inspirations from Hamlet. Second, Elton John and Tim Rice made a great team composing the songs for the film, along with that amazing score by Hans Zimmer. Third, each of the characters have their own charm to them, especially the villains. Now for the characters. Simba is the main character who starts out being rather rash, immature, and impatient and wanting to be king someday. However, that all changes with the death of his father Mufasa. In fact, speaking of, Mufasa is the wise and supportive father to Simba, who is the current king of the Pride Lands, up until he ends up getting killed off near the end of the first act of the film. Scar, the main villain of the film, just has that charm about him that makes him come across as being rather sly and manipulative, especially in his desires to claim the throne for himself. And there's also Scar's henchmen, the hyenas Banzai, Shenzi, and Ed, with Shenzi being the matriarchal leader of the trio, Banzai being the more aggressive of the trio, and Ed being the dim-witted and crazy one of the trio, though it's no surprise that he shares his name with a similarly named character from Cartoon Network's Ed, Edd n Eddy. And for the other characters, we have Nala, another lion cub who is Simba's best friend, as well as eventual wife once the two are grown up, Rafiki, a wise old mandrill who serves as a shaman and advisor to Simba when he finds himself troubled by his father's death, Zazu, a hornbill who acts as the major domo to Mufasa and later to Simba, and finally, the two most popular characters of the whole film, Timon and Pumbaa, who are basically the comic relief outcasts who take in Simba and raise him under their care after he's been exiled from the Pride Lands. These two proved to be so popular that they were given their own spin-off series that aired on CBS on Saturday mornings, until moving to Toon Disney once Disney ended up buying out ABC in 1996. Aside from the plot, the music, and the characters, this film actually has a pretty good mix of heart, emotion, comedy, and even action to it. On the emotion side, you can't help but feel sorry for Simba once his father gets killed, thanks to Scar instigating the stampede that killed Mufasa in the first place. And once Scar lies to Simba that he was responsible for his father's death, just to twist the knife even further, it's just so heart-wrenching and so much of a gut punch that the scene really hits close to home. Not to mention the juxtaposition of the African setting with the Shakespearean atmosphere that really gives you that strong sense of catharticism regarding Scar's desire to take over the throne. You see, once Scar has taken over the throne after killing Mufasa and getting rid of Simba, he believes that having the lions and the hyenas share the same territory will benefit for everyone living in the Pride Lands. But unfortunately, the opposite ends up being true. Thanks to Scar's irresponsible actions while ruling the Pride Lands, the entire area ends up falling into ruin, being completely left devoid of any food and water. This scenario proves that actions really do speak louder than words, given that while Scar believed that he'll be a great king, he actually ends up being a terribly incompetent king because of that. And also around the same time that this happens, Simba, after growing up, ends up still having his doubts about becoming king due to his guilt over supposedly causing his father's death. However, it's fortunate for him that Nala, who's also grown up as well, along with Rafiki and the spirit of Mufasa, are able to talk some sense into Simba and convince him to return home to face Scar. Once that happens, you just can't help but feel that sense of security that Simba is finally able to swallow his doubt and gain the resolve and responsibility to return home in order to face his past and confront Scar over what he's done. And of course, the climax, where Simba, Nala, and their friends, along with all the other lionesses in the Pride Lands, square off against Scar and his hyena forces. That is just an action-packed piece of work if I ever saw one in an animated film. You can really tell that Disney put a lot of work into this film, which probably explains why it was the highest grossing animated film at the time. I really love everything about this movie. The plot, the characters, the animation, the music, the comedy, the action, the heart, and the emotion. It all seals the deal, so I will give The Lion King 10.5 stars. Thanks to the success of The Lion King, it ended up getting a direct-to-video sequel, The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, which was pretty decent, as well as another sequel, The Lion King 1.5, which I have not seen. And of course, we all know about the Timon and Pumbaa series before Disney Jr. decided to make The Lion Guard, which is supposed to take place within the time span of The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, but I've not seen that series either. And of course, Disney just had to decide to make a live-action remake of The Lion King, and now it's actually going to get a prequel that'll be released sometime this year. Something tells me that that's probably just going to be nothing more than a cash grab. But enough out of me. I hope that you all enjoyed this episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. As I keep mentioning before, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos from me, whether it'll be in another episode or something else. So until next time, later!